send mail to Susan. Her address is susanto@microsoft.com. So, or you can go see Susan right there. Don't all bum rush her at once. Yeah, gotta do all that stuff. All right, questions? Thanks, thank you.
Hi, Victor Larsson from Avanade. Regarding the browser for the phone and the web browser control, how is the support for Silverlight pages on the net?
So that was the first, you might have missed that one. That was the first slide I said, if you came a little late. Basically, Silverlight, or Windows Phone 7 series, the first iteration, will not have in-browser support for Flash or Silverlight. And so that's something, again, we're working on. We've got some prototypes. We've seen it work, but it's not something we're going to be shipping in the first version.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any text-to-speech capabilities? Any APIs?
I don't want to answer that right now.
Can it be added on?
Absolutely.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry about that. I was writing my notes down.
No problem.
Okay. I had 3 questions, if that's okay. I can go back and forth, though.
We'll see how complicated they are.
Number 1, I don't know if you can say anything about it, but software updates, I know this is something that I dealt with on Android development. 1.5 came out, and now 2.0 and 2.1 are out. But sorry, it's up to the manufacturer. So is it going to be more like the Zune software update model, where everybody gets the updates as time goes on?
Yes. It's going to be much more like the Zune software model. Completely my decision.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm here till Thursday. Literally. And then I've heard a lot about manifest type permissions. So where you could say you specifically have to grant, or you explicitly have to grant the user access to, say, your location. And I don't know how in depth that goes. Like on Android, there's like, I hate keep
so I'm not an expert in the model here, but I can give you the high-level overview. So there's a set of things that are called capabilities. There's like 8 or 10 of them, and they map to things like using the webcam, using location, and those are all asked for at application install. So when your app goes through the ingestion process, we run static analysis on it to see what it needs. We then mark it as needing such, and then the page for the app will say it needs X, Y, or Z. And when you download it, it basically asks you for that as a user before the app runs.
So you can't define that as the developer. You guys determine it?
Well, by using the API, you have defined that it's a developer that your app needs that. Right?
Okay.
So so I think what you're asking is there a switch model where you can say, if the app needs it, I can use it. If not, it's like an add-on versus a requirement.
Okay.
So, but the model we have right now is kind of requirement only.
All right.
For the first
last
version.
Thing, on the web browser control, how similar is that to the one that ships on the device? Meaning, is it just the same thing?
Yeah, it's the same browser.
And is there anything like hardware acceleration, kind of like they're showing IE9, because all these devices are going to have GPUs? So HTML5 support, hardware acceleration, what's in there?
I'm not an expert on the browser team and what goes on there. It's pretty zippy. I've played with it, but I doubt you're going to have anything nearly as crazy as you can do with HTML5.
So as long as we have the latest version of the operating system, the browser will have the same functionalities as...
Yeah, the web browser control and the browser are the same thing. It's the same thing as the web OC on Windows versus the actual IE on the Windows.
Okay, thanks.
Hi. Like everyone, I guess I downloaded the SDK and tried the simulator. I haven't seen any of the hubs. How are we going to test our apps, and how do we integrate with the hubs?
It's a good question. I should have mentioned this. So the first version of the emulator we shipped we call it the mini UI. It basically only has IE in it. There's some settings and things like that, but basically you only have IE initially. There's a decision made based on we weren't ready to show the rest of the applications from a polished perspective. We didn't want to get that out there. So we wanted to get developers started and get you guys bootstrapped, but we weren't ready for the whole world to take a look at all of the other parts of the operating system, so they're not in there initially. That's not the final version. It won't be like that eventually. It's just for now. But that does mean that for now, basically most of the launchers and choosers won't work except for the web browser launcher.
Okay. Hey, can you at least tell us a little more about what we can do with the hubs, and is there a session about that?
There's not a session. I can give you some information afterwards if you want to come up and we can chat about it.
Thank you. Okay, a couple of input questions first. So cut and paste is supported, built-in?
Cut and paste is not supported.
Okay, custom gestures. So can I get down to basic
So
touch?
and the current version right now that we're shipping does not have the Silverlight 3 just raw touch API. That's something that we definitely want to add back. That's something that's right now it's just slightly below the cut line, but if we get a lot of feedback, which we've been getting, that's really important. We're going to try and bring that back.
Thanks. Web browser, is it possible to intercept JavaScript errors?
You know, that's an excellent question. I'm not sure.
I know it's a good question. That's what I'm asking. And the very last one. You listed the fire and forget in chooser applications. Is it a fixed list?
Launchers.
Launchers, yeah. Is it a fixed list, or can it be extended? You can add your own to this list.
It's a fixed list. There's a set of APIs.
Thanks.
So that's a good idea, though.
Yeah, it's implemented in Android.
I know.
I thought I saw some mention of push notifications in the keynote. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Peter's going to talk about that in the next session.
Gotcha.
There's diagrams and everything.
Two questions. Is there any support for pass-through authentication?
Pass-through authentication.
So, for example, capturing authentication information on the phone and passing it into the application on the phone. So let's say I create an application for a business scenario and I want to actually capture authentication. Can I pass it through?
So your app can take in credentials, like a user can enter it, and then you can use the standard, if you're doing a network request, you can create a network credentials instance and pass that on. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, like through Active Directory or something.
Not through Active Directory though, right? So the support is basically this same thing that you have in Silverlight 4, which you can basically set the network credentials property with a username and password.
Right.
But there's no support for Active Directory.
Second question, these new devices I'm assuming are going to have storage, so for example micro SD cards. Is there any support for accessing local storage, which is built in memory?
So that's a good question, and something I should have covered. So the storage is isolated storage. So if you're familiar with the Silverlight model, isolated storage, except there's no limit.
Right.
So your app can party on it. The property that basically is how much space you have, or use size is turned into how much space is left on the device. So
Right.
you can party away on that.
So it's going to be limited to isolated storage that's on the physical device. You can't leverage anything on an SD card, is what you're saying.
No, you can leverage an SD card. The OS merges them together.
Okay.
But you can, you're limited to how much is physically available.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Hello. Just three quick questions. It's related to the video capabilities. We develop mobile applications for other platforms. I'm looking at bringing clients to a new app store. Is HTTP streaming supported, and what functionality is going to be there? Fast forward, rewind, pause, play?
HTTP streaming as in smooth streaming, or?
Streaming of video to the device.
So there's a standard we call progressive download, which is you just put a media file on a web server, don't think anything about it. That works. We're working with the IS team to implement smooth streaming. We have media stream source. We have the basic stuff there. IS doesn't yet support smooth streaming targeted at the device because you want to basically do tuning based on the network and hardware capabilities, and they haven't done that yet, but they are definitely very interested in that. And in fact, I think one of the sessions sometime at Mix, those guys are actually talking about smooth streaming on the phone.
Okay, and are there any HD codecs like H.264 that will be supported?
Yeah, I should have mentioned all the formats. So basically, unlike Silverlight in the browser, Silverlight on the phone uses the built-in operating system playback stack, which is why we kind of get hardware acceleration. And you have access to anything that thing can play back. So if you look at what you can play back on your Zoom, that's probably a pretty good representation.
Okay, so just, progressive download worked over Wi-Fi, so that'd be good. And the other question would be to home screen. Could you do the same thing, stream video to home screen, pause, play, video preview?
The home screen just has tiles, right? It's shortcuts for launching, and those things you can put minute bits of information on them, but you can't stream a video to it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, and I guess last question is just as far as compiling